Hello everyone, Mahadasha is a timing technique in Vedic astrology nobody can do without. You may know your Mahadasha, but you may be struggling to predict events. I hope this video will put all that right for you. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. And if the video is good for you, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget you can comment below my video if you have further questions. Let's begin. So from the moment we are born, everybody, the sand is slowly coming down in this old style hourglass to predict the exact time, show us the time when events will occur in our life according to our karmas. In fact, attempting to do astrology without Mahadasha is really like walking in the dark, basically. Yes, we can use transits and we can get many good predictions from those, but they are unsatisfactory without being paired up with Mahadasha. Why? Because transits are like cycles, endlessly repeating in our life. Saturn square our Sun, Saturn conjunct Moon, Jupiter conjunct Mars, whatever it is, they are continually repeating every so many years. Without Mahadasha, we cannot know when those big important changes take place. On my channel, everyone, you may have seen there is already a playlist talking about predicting with Mahadasha, and this video is contributing to that. On this video, we will learn about the Mahadasha chart, how to judge that chart, and also how to time events in your life. Let's start then with 5 very important techniques, one of which I've not yet mentioned on my channel. I hope you'll find interesting. These techniques are essential preliminary considerations before we even start to analyze Mahadasha. First of all, we have to ask ourselves which Mahadasha. Now, don't worry, everybody. This video and all of my Mahadasha videos are about standard Vimsotri Mahadasha, which is the basic Mahadasha used in this age in the Vedic system. But if your moon is in the 2nd house, 3rd house, 6th, 8th, 11th or 12th house in your birth chart, you could start standard Vimsotri from a completely different vantage point. And this very often gives you more accurate predictions. You can still use the basic standard moon nakshatra predictions, but looking at these alternate Mahadasha starting points can be very helpful. Check out the video on my channel. Secondly, you must take into account the sequence of your Mahadasha. Is this your 2nd Mahadasha, 4th Mahadasha, 5th Mahadasha in your life? The sequence of Mahadasha makes a huge difference in what happens to you during that time period. For example, if you're in the 2nd, 4th or 6th sequential dasha in your life, you get a little bit more security, stability generally, depending on the Mahadasha Lord. But if you're in the 3rd and 5th Mahadasha, definitely 7th as well, things are not stable. Things can be very, very choppy indeed. So you need to take care to understand the deep meaning of these sequential Mahadashas. Each one has special karmas connected. Once again, the relevant video on my channel gives you all the secrets in regard to this. Check in the description box below. Thirdly, we must always judge the ascendant Lord. How is it harmonizing with the Mahadasha Lord? This is so important. Say you're in Mars Mahadasha, but you are Libra ascendant. It's going to be tricky for you because Mars is your 2nd and your 7th Lord. Every Mahadasha, we judge the D1 ascendant, D9, and indeed you can judge all the Varga charts in this way to get more information. So it's the most important judgment to make. And if you skip this essential judgment, everyone, it's virtually impossible to understand why such a favorably placed planet in your chart should be giving you such trouble, Mahadasha. So once again, there is a video on my channel which is linked below. And fourthly, the planet degree of that Mahadasha Lord shows you how much karma you are burning. It's quite simple. You can see it in the birth chart only. Because Varga charts do not have degrees. So check out if you're saying Jupiter Mahadasha, but it's got 25 degrees in your chart of any sign, whether it's retrograde or not, makes no difference. You are burning a whole bucket full of karma there. It's going to be stressful for you. Check out the video on my channel to see more about this. Finally, a most important judgment, not yet included on a video on my channel. I'm actually bringing it in here for the first time. The sign of the Mahadasha Lord. Is it in a cardinal, fixed or dual sign? Now, every Mahadasha is bringing back the karmas we have to burn in this life, but according to the sign placement, the type of sign, we can say we have a little bit more freedom to maneuver, as it were. How does it go? The Mahadasha planet, Mahadasha Lord, is in a cardinal sign. That means in Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, you have a little bit more leg room, as it were. You can actually maneuver events how you would like to have them go. There's a little less obstacles in your path. Your desire nature takes precedence. But here's the thing, you can also dig yourself into a really big hole with all of that freedom. Something to also consider. But obviously when the Mahadasha Lord is in a fixed sign such as Taurus, Leo, Scorpio or Aquarius, you are going to have to go along with those fixed karmas. They are pretty stable. You're going to have to burn those karmas. You can't really manipulate things. You may think you are, but you're not, because actually that was all meant to happen. So there's less freedom, less leg room in a fixed Lord Mahadasha. In the dual signs, when the Mahadasha Lord is in Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo or Pisces, you have a little bit more freedom than in the fixed signs, but still many karmas have to be faced there. So it's a mixed factor. Next, with having all those important techniques in place, everyone, we can now start to make predictions using the Mahadasha chart. The big secret, everyone, to this is that the Mahadasha planet is you. Yes, you have become Rahu, you have become Jupiter, you have become Mars, Venus, whatever is your Mahadasha Lord. And therefore, we must see your birth chart from that vantage point. It can also be done in Varga charts, by the way, but let's just stay with D1 mostly on this video. So we will see your birth chart from a new position, putting the Mahadasha planet into ascendant. Let's illustrate, everybody, using chart of Madonna. She has moon first house, so we're just going to use standard Vimsotri Dasha starting from moon nakshatra. She is now in her sixth Mahadasha, which is Jupiter. Jupiter shown here is in the third house, D1, D9 chart in Libra. Virgotama, it's a very strong placement, but it's in the third house. That's the problem. Third house, Jupiter has a Mahadasha weakened factor, so she can have quite a lot of mental stress. But let's focus on turning this D1 chart into the Mahadasha chart. And here is the Mahadasha chart. Jupiter in first house. You judge this like a normal birth chart, everybody. It becomes your supplementary birth chart during any Mahadasha period. So Madonna gets a supplementary ascendant during this time of Libra. She becomes more Libra and more conciliatory, more concerned with business, Libra and relationships. There are many good factors actually. As I say, it's her sixth Mahadasha, giving her some security. It's a low degree of karma. That is helpful because it's 3 degrees Libra only. And it's in Libra, cardinal sign, giving her a bit more freedom. But most importantly, as I've just shown you, is Jupiter a friend to her ascendant Lord? He is. Her ascendant is Leo. Sun, Jupiter are excellent friends. And indeed, in her D9 chart, she has Leo rising also. So this is most favorable. However, it's not all smooth sailing. Not harmonious in the house of relationships, definitely. Mars K2 in Aries shows really dramatically forceful partners, or that you cannot come to agreement with your partners. Mars is in a Mahadasha position, weakened position here, so it is not easy to have harmonious relationships during this Mahadasha. Just as well that the Lord of this Mahadasha chart, Venus, has gone into the 10th house, showing that a lot of her effort is actually still going into her career. You should also see transits, everybody, in your Mahadasha chart. For example, right now, Shani is in Capricorn. That's in the 4th house of Madonna's chart here. So definitely the last year or so, she would have had some difficult stresses domestically and even issues with her children. How can we see? Because Saturn in this Mahadasha chart rules the 5th house of children, and he's gone 12th to himself. Very important to see the aspects of your Mahadasha Lord in that very Mahadasha chart. Why? Because this Lord has now woken up in your life. What do people do when they wake up? They look around them, right? So the Mahadasha Lord's sight aspect becomes very important during Mahadasha. You can see other aspects such as Rasi, sign aspects, if you know about them, but it's the sight which are most important. Let's go through all of the planets with their sight aspects. You should highlight this in your Mahadasha chart. If you're in Saturn Mahadasha, highlight the 3rd, 7th and 10th houses from Saturn's position in your chart. If you're in Jupiter Mahadasha, it's the 5th, 7th and 9th houses which are emphasized during that time period. If you're in Mars Mahadasha, it's the 4th, 7th and 8th houses. If you're in Venus Mahadasha, Mercury, Moon or Sun, it's the 7th house from those planets that you need to emphasize. If you're in Rahu Mahadasha, it's the 2nd house, 5th, 7th, 9th that need to be highlighted because these are Rahu's drishti or sight aspects. However, during Ketu's Mahadasha, Ketu has no sight. He is headless, don't forget. So there are no drishti aspects. You can see sign aspects if you know, but basically Ketu is an internalized factor. You have to judge totally by the sign house and the Mahadasha chart itself. Now, seeing these drishti or side aspects during the Jupiter Mahadasha for Madonna, it's aspecting highlighting the house of children, meaning children become central in her life during this time period and her relationships. This is going to help to take a little bit of the edge of this difficult Mars Ketu conjunction, and the 9th house of religious system and philosophy, including relationship with her father. Now we've seen Mahadasha chart, seeing how we can see events in our life and the most important areas during that time. Let's start to time events. To do this, we need to use the Bhukti or Sub-Dasha periods. The first question, which is little understood, is what or who do these Bhukti periods represent? The answer, everyone, is that the Bhukti planet is other people. This is an amazing technique. Understanding this, everything I found falls into perfect place. The Bhukti planet is the other people affecting you because you are Mahadasha Lord. How do you judge about these people? By the karaka significance of that Bhukti planet itself. I'll talk more about that in a minute. In addition to that, the next Antardasha down, the Sub-Bhukti, represents events and circumstances in your life. Let's see how it could go. Let's have an example of this, everyone. Say you're in Shani Mahadasha and you're at the end of that Mahadasha virtually when Mars Bhukti comes, and you're in the Ketu sub-period. So you're in Saturn, Mars, Ketu. So in this Mahadasha of Saturn, you have become like Shani, hardworking, dedicated, taking things slowly but thorough. But in this Bhukti of Saturn Mars, somebody represented by Mars comes into your life. This could be in any area. It could be relationship situation. It could be workplace situation. Anywhere there's some Martian type person who is going to confront you because Saturn Mars are enemies. There are many ways to see this. This Martian type element represented by some person could be trying to discipline you, slow you down, stop you, or to simply control you. This is why Saturn Mars for everybody is extremely stressful period. Stress levels go through the roof. It can cause Mars Saturn type health issues like headaches, migraines, even accidents. And to all of this difficulty, we are adding Ketu as the sub-Antardasha here, Mars Ketu period. So basically, Ketu is the circumstances. Saturn is you, Mars is the people, Ketu are the circumstances. Ketu circumstances are of letting go, turning around, going in the opposite direction, basically loss. So this highly stress-prone situation leads to something have to be let go of in your life. Now, there are 9 Bhukti periods in everybody's Mahadashas. Which are the most important ones? Well, first of all, just going backwards a little bit, the aspects, as I've just shown you now, of the Mahadasha Lord, planets in those houses most important. In addition, we should take into account these factors. The Bhukti period of the dispositor of the Mahadasha Lord and the dispositor of the Mahadasha Lord Nakshastra sign. Very important bhakti periods. Let's have an example. Which brings me now to the most important consideration of all about the bhakti periods. How do we judge the challenge of the bhakti period? We do it by the placement of the bhakti lord from the Mahadasha lord as follows. Let's start with the most helpful placements of the bhakti lord. MDL here represents Mahadasha lord. So when the bhakti lord is in the same house as this Mahadasha lord, 4th house away or 10th house away, these 3 houses, it is the most helpful because it pushes your life forward. It gives you a lot of energy. Doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, depending on the planets themselves, of course, don't forget, but it generally pushes events forward, gets you moving on with your life. Most people find this helpful. It's strangely not so straightforward, everybody, when the bhakti lord is in the 5th and the 9th from the Mahadasha lord. Now, these are Lakshmi Sthana houses. Generally, you'll be told this is good for growth in your life, financial factors, yes, when there are benefic lords involved. But when the Mahadasha lord is a malefic, any of the malefic planets, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Mars, even the sun sometimes mildly malefic, or the bhakti is any of these malefic planets, you may get some opportunity, but mostly I've seen it's more like stagnation. Life gets stuck because these malefics do not do well in these Trikona houses. You can feel stagnated in your life as though you are not sure what to do next. When the bhakti lord has gone in the 2nd house to the Mahadasha lord 3rd and 11th, it's a mixed factor. Good factors can be there, but there is always challenge. But there are differences between them. When the bhakti lord is in the 2nd house to the Mahadasha lord, it's marika to that Mahadasha lord. So there can be loss in your life, endings in your life. Sometimes financial stability is increased. You have to see the planets though. It's a mixed period, as I say. 3rd house bhakti lord, strong ego desires, watch for the conflicts. 11th house, similarly, you're going to find conflicts, ego desire strong, but there can be gain. And very challenging times can be seen when the bhakti lord has gone in the 6th house to the Mahadasha lord, 7th house, 8th house and 12th house. What is difficult about all of these placements, everyone, is that unexpected factors that you had not been considering come into play. In all of these placements, bhakti lord in these houses from the Mahadasha lord can give health problems. It can give quarrels. It can give litigation, difficulties, contention, loss in your life. Even people can die in your life sometimes. There will definitely be big changes when the bhakti lord is in the following houses. It's definitely good to take a remedy when you have bhakti lord in these houses from Mahadasha lord. Don't become contentious. Don't fight too much. Try to relax and let life be. The less you struggle, the more easier it can be. Let's pull it all together by looking at Madonna's chart from the moment when her mother died. She was only 5, all the ups and downs of her life to date. Let's illustrate this using Mahadasha chart technique. It's going to be a quick analysis, not exhaustive, but I hope it's going to be helpful. Anything that you could add, please comment below. Quick look at Madonna's D1 and D9 just before we move on to do the individual Mahadasha charts, because it's important to see that Madonna was born with a Vagottama Lagna. Leo D1, Leo D9. This is quite rare and it is extremely auspicious. Why? Not because it's going to give you super relationships. No, not at all. It's about the fact that it gives you, Lagna, enormous inner strength and it makes you a real survivor. And the first event which Madonna had to survive was, at 5 years of age, the loss of her mother. Very, very difficult event indeed. Shani is in the 4th house of mother. We can expect some deep karmas here, and it has a high degree of karma in any case. It's in Scorpio, not an easy placement for Saturn, being the house of his enemies, Mars and Ketu. So Mars and Ketu, though, both have gone 6 houses away. This is the real problem. 6 houses shows sickness and difficulty for the mother. And indeed, deep loss for Madonna in the issues dealing with her mother. But the house that actually shows loss of mother in anyone's chart is the 3rd house, because it is the 12th to the 4th house of mother, loss of the mother. There we see Rahu, Jupiter, Guru Chandal Yoga. Do you see, everyone? It is Vagotama in the D9. This Rahu Jupiter conjunction becomes seminal in so many events in her life. And we would certainly expect either Rahu or Jupiter or indeed Venus, Lord of this house, to be involved in any event showing the loss of her mother. As indeed proved to be the case, because Madonna lost her mother when Madonna was in Venus-Jupiter period. Venus, of course, also in the 12th house of loss. So having set the scene in this way, let's move ahead and see the Mahadasha charts for all the sequential Mahadashas in her life so far. So here we have little Madonna. Let's judge her first Mahadasha Venus. The most important factor to understand here, everyone, is that the first Mahadasha for everybody is extremely challenging. And for everyone, the longer that you spend in your first Mahadasha during your life, the more challenging it becomes. Some people only spend 1 or 2 months in this Mahadasha. They are fortunate. Some people spend years. Madonna had 12 years in this Venus Mahadasha. This was certainly a challenge for her. If you want to find out why this first Mahadasha could possibly be so challenging, once again, check out the video on my channel about sequential Mahadashas, linked below. It is a fairly low degree of karma, however, in itself that helps, but it is in conjunction house-wise with the Sun. The Sun is her Atma Karaka, highest degree planet, and Lord of her ascendant. Most important though, we must judge, is Venus friendly to her ascendant Lord Sun? No, not. So this is going to be a very challenging Mahadasha. And Lord of the sign of Cancer, where we have Venus, is the Moon. Moon has gone into Leo in the 2nd house. Family affairs predominate in this Mahadasha. And it is with Mercury, Lord of siblings. Interaction with them is karmic and important. And Mercury is the Lord of the house of loss. So there is going to be some loss during this time period. Something else very important is happening here. The Sun is in a Parivartana exchange with the Moon, ruler of this Mahadasha. Sun is in the Moon sign Cancer and Moon in the Sun sign of Leo. This Parivartana exchange between Sun and Moon is going to be so powerful and so good for her in the Sun and the Moon Mahadasha, as we shall see, but not so now in Venus Mahadasha. We've just shown by analysing birth chart how the Venus-Jupiter period brought the death of her mother. But even here we can see Jupiter is in 4th house of mother with Rahu. Rahu, the Lord of Aquarius, the 8th house of change, transformation, and complete loss. Now this 8th house Rahu going into this 4th house will therefore cause complete transformation and upheaval in this domestic sphere of her life. In addition, we should see that Jupiter is the Lord of the house of father. He's gone 8 houses away, showing complete transformation for the father in her life during this time period. Madonna's father married the housekeeper actually in 1966 during Venus-Saturn period. Saturn is of course co-lord of the 8th house itself, transformation, change, upheaval, and the 7th house, a complete enemy to this Cancer ascendant here. However, it's to be expected that something big's going to happen in Saturn period. Why is this? Because as I've shown you, watch out for the Bhukti periods of the Nakshastra dispositor. Venus is in Pusha Nakshastra, which is ruled by Shani. So Venus Shani is going to be a big change for her, which it certainly was. In fact, Madonna could never settle to connect to this new stepmother, and it affected deeply her relationship with her father for many years, as she's often commented. Next for Madonna comes the Sun Mahadasha from 71 until 77. Sun is her Lord. This is going to be much more favourable for her. Lord of her ascendant, D1 and D9, it's good. But it is 29 degrees. It's the Atmakaraka, buckets of karma to burn. Fortunately, though, it's the 2nd Mahadasha. Second Mahadasha for everybody calms things down, brings more security, a settled factor. These were her key high school years. Being her Lord the Sun, she's probably going to do quite well. Indeed, she did. She was an absolute A-star student. Not surprising to see Saturn, hard work, in the house of learning in this Mahadasha chart. I bet she was doing quite a bit of swatting as well. Her dancing talents came out here as well, because fifth house is creative talent. Both of these rulers have gone to the 10th house in Aries. Did you know K2 rules dance because it rules Pisces, the feet? And they are in Aries. Loads of energy, loads of ambition. She gets a scholarship to study dance at Michigan University. But all of that swiftly comes to an end when she enters in 77 the Moon Mahadasha, the third Mahadasha. Moon brings change in any case, but the third Mahadasha being the moon, it's mega time. Third Mahadasha, everyone, is called Vipat. It means traveling apart. For everybody, third Mahadasha is good for career because you are finding your path, you are finding your feet, you are traveling apart. But you can see by the name itself that it's not going to be very good for relationships. That's the case for most people. Let's judge this Mahadasha Lord. Moon is in Leo. That's good because this is the sign of her ascendant. More than that, it's a great friend to her Lord the Sun. That most important judgment to make. This will be good. Moon is with Mercury, Lord of the 11th house of income. She's going to have an increase in her income during this period, which she most definitely did. But the real reason that she gets this substantial income increase is because Moon is in this Paravatanan with the Sun. Sun is wealth, by the way, in everybody's chart. Big secret. Watch out for my Sun sign video coming up soon, everyone. And this Paravatanan comes into play. So she's in Moon Mahadasha, but because Moon is exchanging with the Sun, she becomes like the Sun in this Mahadasha, her ascendant Mahadasha Leo. She starts to shine in the world, most definitely. Another factor, of course, promoting Madonna during this time is that the Sun in her D10 chart, I'm not going to bring that up here, but I can just let you know, is in the first house. So this Sun-Moon factor is coming to the fore during this ascendant Mahadasha Leo, and her career is going to take off in a huge and very successful way. And of course, in this chart, 10th house Lord is Venus in conjunction with the Sun, Lord of the chart. Some big career step is going to definitely happen. Of course, it caused some controversy, Venus Sun 12th house, with the erotic imagery in this video of like a virgin, but this becomes typical of Madonna's career. As I've said, Vipat, third Mahadasha, is difficult for relationships, and she married Sean Penn in the Moon-Venus period. Now, of course, Venus does rule relationships, but that's not the most important thing. Everybody using techniques which I've just given you. What is the Moon Nakshastra? It is Purva Palguni, and the ruler is Venus. So she had a major event, definitely in the Bhukti of the Nakshastra Lord Venus. But here's the thing, it is in the 12th house to the Mahadasha Lord. Now, we would have to go into Navamsa chart to see further analysis, which is not part of this video. But let's just say this. When we begin things, when the Bhukti Lord is in the 6th house, 7th, 8th, 12th house, that is hard to sustain. And that was definitely the case with this very challenging marriage to Sean Penn. Just 2 years after marrying, she moves into Mars Mahadasha. Very fortunate it is her 4th Mahadasha, because all of this fire is coming to the fore with Mars and K2 in Aries in the 1st house. This is going to be a blazing Mahadasha, literally. Now, let's just judge this Mahadasha as usual. Mars is in own sign of Aries. Is that favorable? Well, in some way, it's going to make her highly independent, highly driven during this Mahadasha. Mars contains quite a high degree of karma, 22 degrees to burn definitely, and it's with K2. K2, the lord of the 12th house of loss in this chart. She's going to have to sustain some losses also during this time. In addition to the 12th house lordship, K2 also rules Scorpio, the 8th house of emotional trauma, divorce, separation, financial wrangles, legal battles even happening financially. All of this happened because she divorced Sean Penn, and it was emotionally traumatic for her. She has subsequently reported that many times. But back to that most important judgment. Is Mars a friend to her ascendant lord, the sun? Most definitely he is. And it's the 4th Mahadasha, where she will get some wealth and security. Now, in this case, Mars is in his own sign, so he cannot be his own dispositor to see in this chart. Dispositor of Mars in Aries will be Shani. Why? Because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, Saturn's sign. And here we have that 8th house factor again, because Saturn is in the 8th house Scorpio, showing emotional trauma definitely, but also controversy in her career. Why controversy in her career? Because Saturn is the lord in this Mahadasha chart of the 10th house of career. And it was in the Mars-Jupiter period that both these events happened. In 1989, she got divorced and huge controversy, but success happened when she released Like a Prayer. Of course, this Bhukti Lord is in the 7th house, and I've just shown you 1-7 is a very difficult period. She got divorced, but also Jupiter rules the 9th house of religion and the 12th house of spirituality. What can I say? Like a Prayer video was all about religious system in a way, and definitely the burning crosses, Mars, the whole imagery of this video caused a phenomenal uproar basically, but nonetheless contributed to her success. So Madonna is certainly blazing a burning path in this Mahadasha, and in the 7th house of relationships, Rahu is also there pushing out the boundaries. She also had a well-publicized gay relationship during this period. As always, everybody, let's see the Nakshastra dispositor. Mars is in Barini Nakshastra, ruled by Venus. Venus is 4 houses away. What happened in the Mars-Venus period? Now, of course, Mars-Venus together is a highly sexualized factor, and during this Mars-Venus period, she released the erotica book, erotica video, world tour, etc., all of which was hugely controversial but very successful because Mars-Venus are 4 away from each other. Next Mahadasha for Madonna is Rahu, the 5th Mahadasha, starting in 1994, going on to 2012. This Rahu will completely blaze a path in her life, which is completely different, as shown by the fact that Rahu Jupiter, that Guru Chandal Yoga, comes into ascendant in this Mahadasha. Make the judgments how it will be. First of all, Rahu is no friend, in fact arch enemy to her ascendant Lord Sun. It's going to be challenging. First time we have actually seen this since the Venus Mahadasha when she was a child. And very importantly, it's the 5th Mahadasha. The 5th Mahadasha for everybody takes you on a completely different road. It like verges you off onto a different way of life. You become restless. You want to do something new, but very often it is not where you belong. And in addition, Rahu has extremely high degree of karma. He's at the beginning of Libra. For him, that's the end of the sign, picking up a bucket load of karma for Madonna to burn. But of course, it's in Libra. Once again, Madonna has so many cardinal planets. She's going to push out. She's going to try something different. She's going to do something completely new. Now, because Rahu is with Jupiter, first house, you can expect Jupiter factors to come into her life. Jupiter rules husband, female chart. Jupiter rules children. Oh, not surprising, in this Rahu Mahadasha, she married, and she also had both of her biological children during this period, as well as starting to adopt children from abroad. Why abroad? Because Rahu indicates foreign lands, and he is the lord of the 12th house of the same in this chart. Another significator of Jupiter, as well as husband and children, is religion. It's with Rahu. It's going to be something different, something perhaps controversial. And during the Rahu period, she joined the Kabbalah religious organization. And of course, Madonna had her first child, a daughter, during the Rahu period. Also, Rahu rules the 5th house of children here. In her Rahu-Saturn period, she had her second child, a son. Once again, Saturn is Lord of the 5th house of children. And she also married Guy Ritchie a few months later in that same Rahu-Saturn period. Now, Saturn is in the 2nd house in Scorpio. It's not an easy factor at all. Rahu-Saturn is not an easy combination in Mahadasha in anybody's life. And Saturn is in this 2nd house where Rahu has an aspect during Mahadasha, as I've just shown you. Of course, with Shani being in this 2nd house of her Mahadasha chart, it's a search for security, and financial security maybe, but more just personal security and home and family, because Saturn rules 4th house of home and family. So she attempts to live somewhere different, live in England, but actually it's the 5th Mahadasha. It's just not the right place for her. Of course, Guy Ritchie is represented by Mars in this chart, Lord of 7th house, in own sign, powerful, but with K2 separating, going different direction. And Mars is Mahadasha, weakened in this chart. There is a complete lack of commitment, but actually it could be two ways as well, because of Rahu's powerful drishti onto this house. They are just ill-suited to each other. So quarrels, contentions, disharmony, it's all shown in her relationship in this Rahu Mahadasha. And she reported it was an extremely difficult time for her. She was not really happy at all during this marriage. Which brings us back up to date to a Jupiter Mahadasha running from 2012 until 28. It says 6 Mahadasha, as I have just explained to you on the video, means she can find more security during this time. But of course, just like in her Rahu Mahadasha, she has his K2 Mars in Aries, making relationships disharmonious sometimes and troublesome. In the Jupiter-Mercury period, she adopted children as well, her twin daughters shown here. Mercury, as you may know, rules Gemini, which is the twins, just letting you know that. And of course, having a full drishti onto the house of children. Very interesting also, everybody, because in both Jupiter, Rahu, she is adopting so many children. Let's see something else. Jupiter rules the 6th house. 6th house is the house of adoptive parenting. And specifically, 6th house represents the adoptive or the foster mother. At the beginning of this Mahadasha, during the Jupiter-Saturn period, she was in an intense confrontation with her ex-husband, Guy Ritchie, over the custody of their son. Saturn, of course, rules the 5th house of children. But fortunately, as I say, Jupiter has a 5th house drishti onto this house of children, and it was resolved successfully. On your screen right now, the other videos in my Mahadasha series. Check those out to help you to make accurate predictions in your life. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.